Takopi's Original Sin is one of the hardest anime I have ever had to watch. It is a genuinely miserable, depressing, emotionally taxing experience. Every episode left me needing to take 10 to 15 minutes to just sit in silence and process what I had just witnessed. Rather, it's the show's genuinely incredible aspects, like its insane animation, its fascinating, nuanced characters, three of the most interesting children characters you will ever see in your lives, or rather, it's the genuine just experience of pain and trauma that this show is trying to get across to you. This is not a show for the faint of heart. This show deals with themes of suicide, abuse, neglect, manipulation, all of which being inflicted to children by some of the most morally just reprehensible, awful parents you will ever see in media. If you've ever wanted to see an anime character get thrown through a wood chipper, take them off the line and put every fucking adult you see in this show. That's what this series will do to you. This series will put you through an emotional journey you're not ready for. I'm here telling you this is what will happen, and I'm still telling you nothing I say will make you ready for what this show will make you feel. You will feel a level of sadness and nihilistic pain that media does not always give us. And this is not a slight on modern media like a lot of people like to do. This isn't anything against American, British, Japanese, anything. Experiences like this don't come every day. And it is for that reason that I think Takopi's Original Sin is the best anime of 2025. It is not a series I can recommend lightly. It is a series you must go in as prepared as possible for what you'll experience. But I think once you get into it, you won't look away. You won't stop watching. You'll need to make it to the end because the pain you're feeling is, I think, for a lot of people, good. I think art should be allowed to hurt you. Art should make you feel things you haven't before, things that you hope to never have to, things that once you've experienced it, you can't go back. Once you've thought about the things this show is trying to talk about, you can't unthink about them. You can't just look at those topics the same way. And I think that's a very special, beautiful thing that doesn't happen all the time. And I would like to take the rest of this video to really just kind of like go into as best I can and articulate as best I can what I think it means to get art that will make you feel this way. So yeah, let's get into the premise. I've kind of been rambling a lot like I always do. So yeah, what is this series about? So this series is about the titular Takopi, an alien from planet Happy. This is a world full of cute little octopus creatures like him who are just always happy. Their world is nothing but peace and joy and prosperity, and they believe it is their job to spread said happiness to the rest of the universe. So Takopi is taking part in that mission and comes to Earth, where he meets a 4th grade girl named Shizuka. Shizuka is going through trauma and pain on just an insane level. What you see out of this character in the first episode is stuff that you don't expect to see in anime, stuff you don't expect characters like Takopi to deal with. Characters like Takopi are nothing new. There's tons of movies and TV shows that deal with the concept of these perfect, idyllically happy characters coming by to just help the children out. We saw a lot of this growing up, and it is just a part of childhood to watch overly positive television to make you feel good and teach you a lesson or two. But what this show is trying to show is that life isn't like that. There isn't a simple let's make everyone friends. There is no simple answer to pain and trauma. And while many of you are thinking of yourself, of course not. The older you get, the more you learn that. You look at our society, and this is going to sound cliche because I'm talking about, society, but we don't really address how hard it is to move from trauma. We don't address the pain many kids go through at the hands of abusive or neglectful or manipulative parents. There is this desire, and you feel it a lot here in America, to overly idealize the family unit, and this idea that childhood trauma, the kid's just gonna get over it, or they just need to learn to value their parents more, or any number of solutions that don't actually address the problem. And I feel like this show is out to talk about that. It is out to say that abuse and trauma are wrong. It is out here to say that a bad parent is just a bad parent. I don't think there's enough media that talks about this. And I think the show does a very good job of showing the helplessness and the pain a child who is not being helped, who has basically been left to suffer, is going through. Shizuka to me is such a fascinating character, to see every dark place they go with her and to see how it just builds and evolves throughout the story is heartbreaking and fascinating. And we see this with the other characters as well. Rather, it's her school bully Marina, who you will spend most of the first episode thinking, by God, I've never hated a child more, to then you sitting there and wondering, by God, what could be done for her. Rather, it's Azuma, just a young boy in the class who tries to be Shizuka's friend, who you think has it all together, who is normal, who is all right. But then we see what he is going through and how it causes the situation to be propelled, and how the cycle of trauma and abuse continues throughout these kids' lives, and how just no one is really coming to help. The only one here to help is Takopi. And part of what makes Takopi such a tragic character is that he doesn't know what to do. He comes from a species that is incapable of understanding this level of pain and trauma, as it sometimes feels like our own society refuses to take a look at itself. This series is a dark reflection of what our society can do to kids, just to keep this idea of everything being idyllic, or everything will fall into place if we just continue to do what has always been done. This is a series telling us that if we really want to help people, if we want things to really get better, you have to break the cycle. You have to be the one who says, no, I'm going to grow. I'm going to be different. I am going to make a change. Because as long as someone is still alive, they can be helped. They can be reached. And no matter how hard that is, you have to keep trying, because that problem can be solved. If that person can be reached, it's all worth it. And that's why I think Takopi's original sin, for all the pain and sadness you'll feel watching it, I think is worth it. I think what this show is ultimately trying to tell you is, as sad and tragic as life is, as the pain people go through is real and can feel unending and can feel like it can just continue and never stop, it can. As long as you can reach out to someone, there is hope. And that is the message of this show, and I think that's very beautiful. All right, we're kind of getting a little short for time here. I should obviously do my usual, just talk about the technicals. If you know anything about this show, you've probably heard the animation is absolutely incredible. The sad, nihilistic, dirty look of the manga is perfectly translated here and built on perfectly. The way this show loves to use long takes, which, make no mistake, in animation are very hard to do, the way it loves to use that to have you sit with a scene, to watch all its misery unfold in front of you, I think is geniusly directed, expertly handled. You can tell everyone who worked on the show genuinely understood what they had to do and the seriousness they had to take it. Nothing is ever half-assed. Nothing is ever poorly presented. Well, some little issues. We'll get to that in a sec. Also, as always, I should just briefly talk about the characters. As I said with them, all fascinating, all unique, all very interesting. If anything, you want more. If I were to pick a problem with the characters, I feel like Shizuka is kind of like awkwardly handled as the show tries to juggle the three perspectives of your three main leads. And I should probably also address other issues real quick. The show has no real problem, but I do think it has gripes. In particular, I think in the show's middle 2 of its 6 episodes, I think it does have a little trouble presenting everything in the way I think it wants to. It tries to shift perspectives onto Azuma for a little bit, while I think it in turn kind of neglects what it's trying to do with Shizuka. And while I think it is fascinating to see where these characters go, no matter whose perspective it's being told from, I do feel like things could have been presented a little more straightforward if you picked a perspective and stuck with it. I've heard many people justify why the show swaps around as much as it does, and I 100% understand all of that, but I also see the amount of people who interpreted what this show does with Shizuka as reasons to hate her or to think it's the birth of like some maniacal supervillain or something, and I think if that's the interpretation you got, maybe there's either a problem with how you understood Shizuka, or more likely, I do think there is an issue with how she is presented once the show isn't being told from her perspective, or even Takopi's, as he's kind of just there for a little bit, and he can get very grating. The acting in this show is very strong from our main 3 characters. However, I did feel like just by the nature of what Takopi had to be, he's a little annoying, and I know that's the point. But for me, when it comes to annoying characters, they are annoying. But it all comes together, I think, for a beautiful ending that I think, like I stressed before, has a very important thing to say about hope and how we persevere. And I think because of this, this is one of the most beautiful anime ever created. A genuine experiment in how to present misery and depression, and also to show how one can pull through. And I think for that, once you learn to accept what is in this show and try to power through, and I know for some people that can be very hard, and I genuinely understand that, I think it's worth it. But yeah, give me your thoughts on this series in the comment section below. Do you agree with the many people it's anime of the year, or were the issues I kind of brought up a little too much for you? Because yeah, were moments where I thought this might just go to shit. But give me your thoughts about that in the comments section below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me as we continue to appreciate beautiful art and anime that is here to make us feel something, because I think that's what art should do.